Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us during the Lytham Partners Spring 2023 Investor Conference. My name is Roger Weiss. I'm a Vice President here at Lytham. In this presentation, we welcome SOBRsafe, NASDAQ ticker symbol SOBR. And with us today is their Chairman and CEO, David Gandini. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that management is available for one-on-one meetings later this week. If you have not already signed up, please send me an email at weiss@lythampartners.com or visit www.lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. All right, Dave, let's begin. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and just giving a quick overview on the company?
Yeah, sure, Roger. First of all, thanks for having us back, Roger. We greatly appreciate it. As Roger said, I'm Dave Gandini, CEO, Chairman, and co-founder of SOBRsafe. I've been with the company for over 3 years. And basically, if you remember anything about us, we're the first preventative alcohol detection technology in North America. So first in market.
Very good. And how significant is alcohol abuse or the alcohol abuse issue in the United States? And what has been our historical response to it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Roger. So the more time we spend in the market, the more surprised we are of how significant the problem is. But if we're just throwing out statistics, first of all, 15% of all company vehicles drivers indicate that they drink during work hours when they're driving. Second, in terms of accidents involving alcohol in business, about 50% of all reported injuries or accidents involve alcohol in business. I mean, think about that, 50%. And then lastly, which we'll talk about in this discussion here, 70% of all rehab patients are back in to the facility or back in rehab within the first 12 months. So it's a significant problem. The way we're treating the problem isn't working. And what we're doing, Roger, is we're in front of the problem. We're preventing. Today, everything we do in this country is after the fact. You get into an accident as a truck driver, DOT comes out, they test you for alcohol. Well, it's a bit late. We're the first guys creating a paradigm shift and how it works in the market and how testing. So we're preventing up front. And that's the biggest takeaway for any investors. We're changing the way that alcohol testing is being done, not after the fact, before, to eliminate and hopefully to significantly reduce problems.
And maybe you could talk a little bit more about both the functions and the benefits of your technology and its products.
Sure. So with our technology, the first thing is there's no breath, there's no saliva, there's no blood. You're touching 2 fingers. It's passive. 10 seconds or less, you put your hand on the device, and in 10 seconds or less, we identify you and we determine whether there's a presence or absence of alcohol. So extremely hygienic, no blowing with everything that's happened with COVID. There's no issue there. Second, we've got a very useful customer dashboard with updates and reporting so they can take that information and work with their insurer, work with their head of manufacturing to show how, as the culture improves and as they remove certain individuals to help those individuals, they should see a cultural shift and a performance shift inside their organization.
Very interesting. You know, you've talked about the large multiple markets that you're targeting, and they include justice and fleet and facility and alcohol rehabilitation. How do you think about these various market opportunities, and which areas are you currently, or at least initially, concentrating on, and why?
Okay, so if you think about what I mentioned earlier, we're creating this massive paradigm shift in North America. So with that and disruption, right, comes challenges. So what we had to do in the first year we were out in the market looking for potential customers and pilots, we determined that there were some markets that we wanted to get into where we had shorter sales cycle or we could be more effective early on. Because remember, Roger, we're still in the innovator phase and signing these customers. Once we get through that, we're early adopter and then we're off to the races. But to address your question specifically, the easiest market for us to enter was the justice space, because in that space, probation, halfway houses, we're replacing breathalyzers one for one. So the need was there, shorter sales cycle. And imagine instead of showing your identification and blowing into a tube, say a minute to 2 minutes, whatever it may be, in 10 seconds now, the individuals come in and out of a facility. So we hired an individual with 15 years background. He is leading that charge and we are signing customers in that space. So justice space, probation, sales cycles 3 to 5 months. We're seeing success there in a very short period of time. And the alcohol rehab market, we kind of got pulled through by a particular customer. If you go back and look at our press releases, North Star Care pulled us in to help them solve the problem. Because as I mentioned earlier, with 70% recidivism, a new solution is needed. So we're being pulled through in that space by these companies that are certified by the insurers, providing a new level of treatment. So there's a paradigm shift in that space too, and we're being pulled through. Now, we don't know significant amount about the sales cycle in that space because we're being pulled through, but we've identified some specific talent in this market. And as we launch this particular customer over the next 90 days, we'll start to gather more intelligence and start to work that market. Now, finally, in the facility and fleet space, we have 8 customers today, and we found a nugget within that space, which is oil and gas. You go back to one of our press releases, TerraTech. TerraTech is one of the larger providers of supply, piping, things like that for the oil and gas industry. We signed TerraTech at the end of last year, early this year, where they put in a couple locations. And I'll talk about land and expand. We're now in 17 locations with over 300 users. And in that particular space, oil and gas, there's up to a 30% problem with binge drinking. So with TerraTech as our advocate, and they've been very, very, I think, vocal about what we're doing together, I think we'll find some great traction in that space. So fleet facility, rehab, and then we'll find more out. We'll find more about this nugget with the oil and gas space. But we're excited. We've got customers signed, and we've got significant opportunity within those customers that we have, Raj.
Dave, are there any subgroups within those 3 verticals that look particularly interesting, or that could be fun niches?
Yeah, if you take justice, which we kind of define as a pretty wide definition, halfway houses and work release are a sub-market there. And we already have a significant group of companies and customers that we're working with. So if you're in a facility, you got to check in and check out every day. It's extremely difficult for them using breathalyzers and manual technology and being able to gather that data to report to states. So that's a nugget inside. And as I said, the nugget inside fleet and facility is oil and gas right now. So we've identified those, and we're highly focused in those 2 particular segments right now.
Got it. Now, we've been talking about who you're targeting. Who are you competing against here? What does the competitive landscape look like?
So the competitive landscape is what has been, I think, for the last 4 or 5 decades, the breathalyzer. And so today, the breathalyzer is used, again, as I mentioned earlier, Roger, after the fact. Could you use a breathalyzer before the fact? Could you put breathalyzers in, oil and gas where you had 100, 150 people entering a facility? Well, let's talk about that as an example. I can take in with our SOBRcheck about 160 individuals per hour. It would take 4 or 5 breathalyzers to do that. So it's really, even though they detect alcohol, It's not a preventative solution, and it would be very difficult for having to have managers holding these devices out, and it just doesn't make any sense. But that is our competition. There are other companies that are evolving right now to provide ban type technology for DUI and mandatory spaces. So they're in the weeds right now, but right now the competition is firmly the breathalyzer.
Got it. So what's your overall sales strategy at this point in time?
So
especially
the strategy right now is it's a combination of direct sales, distributor sales, and then we'll talk about later the greatest potential, which is licensing. So what we've done is we've signed customers directly in specific verticals that we've talked about. So what we did initially, Roger, is we signed smaller customers so we could gain traction, shorter sales cycle. So if you think about that, in those three markets, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about it, we've got right now the customers that we're going after, which is the land and expand, where we get in and we sign, like with Paratech, a couple locations, and we expand to multiple locations over time. The average account today that we're selling is about 20x of what we're selling in the past.
Wow. So you're seeing really a ratcheting up in terms of the target size.
Well, yeah, and Roger, you've been there and done that a number of times, right? In order for us to gain credibility, we needed to have accounts, right? You're sitting in front of a decision maker, and they're saying to you, well, can you give me a couple of examples of your customers? Well, right. Not today. So we had to sign smaller accounts so we could gain that traction. So we've gone from those smaller accounts now to much larger accounts. But what we're really excited about is at the end of the day, licensing in these other partnerships and these advocacy groups. But right now we've moved up significantly. We've got a very significant funnel, and we attend a lot of trade shows, Roger. We do a lot of handshaking. I think we've attended 14 trade shows, 2,000 companies that have seen our device, and we've got a significant funnel we're building. So we're touching customers, they're touching our devices, see how it works, and that's our strategy. Forget lead generation, forget all that. We're person to person communication, touching individuals and companies at these alcohol detection shows.
So as you know, it's been, I guess, almost a year now, or it has been a year since the uplisting of the company. What's changed in terms of the customer profile, and I guess you've already talked about the size of the company of the customers has gone up. What else are you seeing out there?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, when we went out last May, we raised the $10 million, and that just got the company off the ground. So at that point in time, we began to execute the business plan, and we began to hire, but we weren't fully funded until October. When we went out with a pipe and raised an additional $6 million. But if you take what's changed from May to May, is first of all, we had only one salesperson and myself. There were two of us. Now we have 5. We have, I think we have 12 to 14 distributors signed. We probably had 3 then. We had 2 customers. We now have 8. And inside our customer base, we have the potential to go from 1,000 subscribers to 20,000 just with the customers that we have signed right now based on the land and expand. So a tremendous amount of growth, a tremendous amount of on the sales side, and in full product set. And we are about to launch. The biggest difference, I guess, would be, Roger, the ban, the addition of the alcohol ban, which we call the SOBRcheck. So there's been a number of changes since last May.
Maybe we could, before we get to the ban, just for a second. So from an on-the-ground approach to going after the customers, I mean, you've talked about the number of salespeople has gone basically from you and another salesperson to now 5. Okay, yep. What does that actually mean in terms of hitting these trade shows, taking your success and getting more success? What's going on?
Yeah, to get more granular in the sales side, so we've got a Chief Revenue Officer, Michael Watson. Michael Watson manages licensing in larger deals. We have under Michael, we've got 3 additional sales individuals. That brings to 4 with the support. So our first sales individual, his name is Matt Mitchell, who comes from the alcohol monitoring space, the ankle monitor blow device space. He's specifically focused on the justice market with a small percentage oil and gas. Marius Karoy, who's out of Seattle, he's a trucking safety guy with over 25 years experience. He manages fleet safety. He manages small percentage of oil and gas, and that's his market space. Chris in Nashville comes from Zonar, one of the largest top 5 telematics companies in the US. He manages facility fleet, oil and gas, and then integration of our technology with the telematics industry. So we have very focused individuals, and I think, Roger, today, over 2,000 companies in the funnel. We're dealing with around 100 companies that we expect to either close or not over the next 90 to 120 days. So, KPIs, we manage, funnel, manage trickle down. So we're very focused, and we're managing that to a sales budget that we have with goals for each individual. So pretty standard stuff, but we're managing it on a weekly basis.
And then I could ask kind of a follow-on. What I kept hearing there was, words like fleet management and sales. Clearly, when you're talking about safety for these large trucking companies or mobility companies, one of the key things is not only safety, but also cost. What is it from their standpoint? Is it insurance that they're looking to drive costs down? Is it accidents? Is it a combination of things coming after it? What is the rationale?
That's great question. Great question. So first of all, we provide we sell the equipment, and then we have a SaaS model. That's how we make a living here. So it's basically $1 a day per employee. So it's $30 a month per user. So it's a subscriber model. So if you take, for example, a trucking company or actually any company, they have liability insurance. They have workers' comp insurance. So if you're an innovator and you understand that you've had issues and there are alcohol issues within your company, by putting our technology in, you can control that. You can eventually eliminate it. And if you can prove to your insurer that you've eliminated it, there's discounts available. We've mentioned this over the past year. We have helped our customers get discounts because they can validate that their environment is alcohol free. And what I mean by that, let's say somebody comes into work, Roger, they've been drinking the night before and they have alcohol in their system. They simply, whatever the process is, the company can send the individual home. They can, have the individual not drive or work in a situation where there's critical possibility for injury. And so they're managing that situation. So companies are looking at this as protection against liability for $1 a day per employee. It's very insignificant. And at the end of the line here, there's insurance discounts. And again, the end of the day for us, Roger, is aligning the insurance companies with our technology, with our customers, to provide significant discounts for the use of our tech and for the use of indicating and ensuring that there's no alcohol in the workplaces and roadways. So it all ties together. But right now, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the innovators, all about individuals who recognize in companies that they've had issues and they're trying to change their culture.
Got it. In terms of just, again, overall, managing the supply chain, the product fulfillment, the customer service, I would think from an overhead standpoint, that's got to be fairly difficult, especially for a relatively new company. How do you guys tackle it?
Well, you got to look at what you do well and what you can replicate with somebody else that's been there and done that. So our core group, we're sales, finance, data management. That's what we do, right? We're building a sales and marketing engine. The data is going to be valuable. What we didn't want to do is build a customer service organization. We didn't want to design the technology, although we were slightly involved with the SOBRcheck and not the band. So what we're doing is we're deploying 2 companies in the Midwest. One is BGM Engineering. What they do is they do all our manufacturing, testing, design, and any additional adjustments we make to the product. We are outsourcing the software component of it as well, but we own all the code, and all the code is part of our IP and our patenting. And then on the customer service side, for frontline customer service, distribution and fulfillment, we use Helm, H-E-L-M. They're out of Detroit. the Detroit area in Michigan. They've got 75 plus years experience, and we manage all of our inventory, distribution, and customer service, turn on, turn off with Helm. So we've got two big companies that have been there and done that, and they, more importantly, they can manage capacity and they can uptick capacity where we need it to support our growth as the business starts to take off.
Very cool. Okay, you referred to it earlier, so let's get back. When I think of your company, I think of going after large organizations or the justice system and helping out there, and helping keep people from getting the keys when they've been drinking. But also, I'm thinking about, gee whiz, what happens to somebody who goes through and shows up and is sober and gets the keys and then starts drinking? And you alluded to the fact that you've got the band now. So tell me about the band and the advantage to, I guess, what is continuous testing.
Sure. So the band, we've been working on the band for about a year. We had a tree-limb band that we were testing with the technology about maybe 8 months before this, let's say 18 to 20 months ago. We took that band that we had tested and built a base level app for it to use for the current app that we're going to deliver here in the third quarter. But basically, we've taken our technology from the SOBRcheck device, a stationary device, and we've made it smaller. We put it into a different form factor. And because it's touching on your wrist and touching your skin, it's constant. So remember, the SOBRcheck, you put your fingers on it, it's a 10-second or less event, and then you're done. This is, man, you'll be wearing it, and it'll be in constant contact with your skin, so constantly monitoring. That particular technology talks to an application. It's on your phone, and then the application goes to the cloud, and it integrates whatever technology you have. If you're a business owner using, you say you're using our technology, the stationary, and you want to put bands on your drivers, all that's integrated so you can manage the location of the individual, whether or not the individual has alcohol in his or her system. And then if that individual takes the band off, then there'll be an alarm, there'll be an alert. And again, think about it. If you're in rehab, if you're working for a company, you've signed up to have zero tolerance policy, you need to wear that band, or you've had some issues, Roger, with alcohol and you want to drive again, you put the band on and you're good to go. So this is for individuals that want to engage in the process. We're not concerned about individuals trying to circumvent because we're not in that penal or justice space, but that's how the band works. And forgot the second part of your question. So you had two or three questions.
I think you got to all my question, but I'll ask the next one, which is, when I think of your business, also I think of primarily something focused on commercial sales.
Right.
And I understand that have launched or will be launching a promotional efforts for a wearable band for teenage drivers. Can you talk about that opportunity yet? And the potential benefits to families and non-businesses.
Absolutely. I think that's, when you mentioned it, that's what I forgot. So thank you for helping with that. The band itself and the whole consumer market, not something that we have any background in, first of all. So we were looking at, and we've talked about over the last 6 months, providing a consumer band. We've done some significant research, and we were really surprised by the success of the SOBRcheck product and how that started to take off. So we put that particular market segment, the consumer segment, on hold. About maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, our entrance to that market's been accelerated in the teen driver as a result of very, very strong interest from national advocacy groups. So I can't say more than that. I can't promise anything. But what's happened is these advocacy groups want to partner with us to promote this on the internet to a significant number of potential users. So how that works, Roger, you want to take the family car out. Your dad gives you the keys. You put the band on. Band connects to your phone. Your phone connects to your parents' phone, and you take the family car out. Let's say you go to your buddy's house for a graduation party. You decide to have a few drinks. It registers on the band. And information goes back to your parents' phone. They call you, they say, Dave, Roger, don't drive the car home. We're going to come get you. Son says, fine. Daughter says, fine. And we've eliminated that problem. So it's not tracking the teen for lack of trust. It's just tracking the teen that if there's a situation, then the parents can get involved and they can make sure that that individual is safe. So we believe this helps establish the trust through demonstrated safe choices, and it's an easier conversation between the parents and the children. Now, as I mentioned before, Roger, could there be an insurance incentive here? And could there be a discount? Because we all know how expensive it is to insure our children when they start to drive. The answer is yes, but we need to get in the market, we need to get users, and we need to get some traction. So for us, all roads lead to insurance. This is just another example. So we're super excited. I say I can't guarantee it, but we're in process and stay tuned.
Very good. In terms of, how are you thinking about the current state of the company, and what are SOBR's biggest value drivers right now, and really what excites you? And I know pretty much everything because there's a lot of very cool stuff going on, but what excites you the most about the company's future?
Yeah, so the first thing is my responsibility, as I see it, is to manage a great group of executives that I have, make sure everybody's in their lane doing what they're doing. So my first priority is I'm staying a year ahead of everybody. What I mean by that, I'm working on supply chain and parts and pieces because we all know you've got issues out there in supply chain. It's getting better, but my job is to stay ahead in terms of design, stay ahead in terms of manufacturing, stay ahead in terms of how we fully automate that. So that's one of the things I'm really excited and interested in. I've had a lot of background in startup companies and doing this through the years. The second thing, well, we just at the kind of the tip of the iceberg here, but we have successfully miniaturized our technology. So the opportunity for us, what's exciting is licensing and then land and expand into significant opportunities. Example, if you take the telematics space where I mentioned to you earlier, Roger, Chris came out of one of our sales guys in Nashville. There's 17 million telematics units in vehicles in the United States, okay? If we were able to successfully Bluetooth our tech into that particular unit, it's already there, there are open APIs, what could the potential be for us? How many companies would add alcohol testing to their stack for additional revenue, and more importantly, to provide more safety to their customers, right? So that's one. The second is the OEM space. We've all read about the NTSB and them wanting to put alcohol detection in the cab of vehicles. Just think about this. We've been approached. We didn't go out. They came to us. 3 large OEMs, global OEMs that are interested in our technology for in-cab integration, and we're all already working with one of those companies. Again, it'll probably take 18 to 24 to 36 months, but they're interested in our technology to integrate. So land and expand and licensing to these larger companies that have significant users will be the game changer. We're not going to hire 10,000 salespeople. We're not going to get there. The ability for us to land and expand into these licensing agreements and with these larger companies, again, can't make any promises. Those things are in motion, and I and myself and Michael Watson, the Chief Revenue Officer, we're responsible for those because we want to keep the sales guys focused on doing what they're doing to bring these customers in. So that's where my head is at in terms of what could really blow us up in the future.
Sounds very good. Is there anything else that might be helpful to investors to understand about the business at this point in time?
Well, not to understand, but I want to, if you go back and look at all of our interviews and our press releases, I think a big differentiator for us and why our stock has been performing pretty well. I mean, we're not jumping up and down, but I think we're averaging about 580,000 shares a month. And if a small cap company in that market's been decimated, I mean, we're doing extremely well. But the goal is, we can obviously do much better. We're applying our maximum effort to gain broad market awareness through commercial efforts and creating a meaningful, valuable company for our shareholders. So our heads are down. We're going hard. we're serving capital, and we're signing customers. We're going at the fastest pace we can with all these other pieces around us that we talked about. And with the expansion for these advocacy groups, none of us have any idea what the potential is, but it's got to be significant. So I guess I would say stay tuned. Thank you to all the investors that have invested in us, and we look forward to talking to anybody who's interested as we're changing the complexity and the complexion of our investor base. So we greatly appreciate your help, Roger, and we look forward to working with some of your constituents here.
Very good. Dave, first of all, I want to thank you for your time with us today. Certainly, we greatly appreciate it. And also, thank you for the work you're doing in terms of helping to make our roads safer and, keep people not only safe, but, still with us.
You are welcome, and it's much appreciated. And we want to do more as we move forward. So we'll look forward to seeing you again, Roger. Thank you.
Very good. Again, to anyone out there who's not already signed up for a one-on-one with Dave and SOBRsafe, again, either please shoot me an email at Weiss at lythampartners.com, or again, visit our website at www.lythampartners.com/virtual and click the one-on-one meeting request button. And we hope everybody out there enjoys the conference. Thanks very much.